So for more, let's go live to Washington. We welcome Janatan Sayeh, research analyst focused on Iran at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy. Thank you so much for your time. So it's very clear Donald Trump is quickly running out of patience here, slamming the Iranians, calling them scum, amongst other descriptions. What do you make of the IRGC targeting vessels in the Strait of Hormuz to start? What is the strategy here out of Iran?
So on one hand, we see effectively the maximum pressure campaign not being fully revived per se, but being in motion once again now that the regime can no longer sell oil, but more importantly, can no longer receive the funding for it directly in its banks. That does, of course, take away revenue from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. But the fact that they're still insisting on provoking the Strait is indicative of their mindset, meaning they think they can impose more on the United States. They're of the opinion that should there be additional strike, they can absorb it. And it really comes down to the response from the United States. If it's going to be in the same themes of simply taking out military infrastructure by the southern coast, or if it's going to go beyond, like the president suggested, maybe going after certain officials or the internal security structure.
Well, Iranian politicians are already pushing back on Donald Trump's threat to attack Karg Island, obviously a key hub for Iranian oil exports. Major risks in a potential move like that, surely.
It is. And if the aim here is to limit Iranian oil exports, as we saw, the maximum pressure campaign did a very effective job, but vessels were still leaving primarily for China. And of course, Iran had its own shadow fleets. But the blockade was effectively one of the very few instances, and I think it was in May or in perhaps June, that the exports had dropped nearly to zero. That was unprecedented. So if that's the ambition here, the naval blockade paired with the maximum pressure campaign was able to have that outcome. Now, going after Karg Island and actually putting boots on the ground, that would be a new chapter. And again, it would beg the question as to what is the end goal? Is it simply to deprive them of cash so they would change their behavior, or is it about weakening them to the point of moving forward with a systemic transfer of power in Tehran?
As an Iranian expert, your thoughts on a development today, the regime publicizing footage of the rubble at the building site taken after the supreme leader and 40 Iranian commanders were eliminated in those precision strikes at the start of the war. The images released as the weeks-long funeral continues. Your thought on releasing those images at this time?
It is paired with actually the funeral itself, which took the regime months. Khamenei's body has not been buried since February 28th. And that's a great sign that on one hand, the regime was really afraid of having anything publicized, having all their different leaders congregate on one area. But parallel to that, once you saw the funeral, all of Khamenei's children and sons were there, except Mojtaba, which again begs the question if he's alive or not, or if his incapacity to lead, which I think leads to a major gap. On one hand, the followers are looking for a leader that would signal that the Islamic Republic is remaining afloat and it can still exert influence. So the supporters are not getting that. And the implications of that would be fully domestic. The decision-making in Tehran will continue to be more fragmented the less there is a supreme authority that is legitimate and visible enough to actually oversee the thought process behind Tehran.